I am going to introduce our first short, and that is a friend of mine, Claire. Claire and I have worked together through some work I did with the Institute of Physics, and she's done at Xplore Wrexham. And she is going to be speaking about her work, and her short title is Faith and Science, Inspiring the Next Generation. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Do you want this, or do you want that?
Hello, everybody. My name is indeed Claire, and then I've got my lovely friend Elaine here as well. She's my glamorous assistant. So the abstract that I wrote a very, very long time ago, I had to reread it a few times. I'm like, what am I going to talk about again? So we have done a couple of different E-Class funded projects, and we're going to talk about those first, and I'm going to hand over to Elaine for a little bit for her to explain some of those, mostly because it's led on to other projects that Elaine hasn't been involved with. So, in a nutshell, I work for a Science Discovery Centre. I am not a person of faith. There is no box on a form that I can tick to say what describes me. I'm just an open-minded person. So whether you're Christian, whether you're not Christian, whether you're Sikh, whether or not you just really love Jaffa cakes, that's absolutely fine with me. And I don't take an opinion on anybody at all. I think whatever you believe in is fantastic, and I love to hear opinions. And I'm not here to prove or disprove anything. I'm just here to listen and then make connections with children to help them to understand their religion or faith by using science as a medium for it. And I've got my notes on my phone, and it's going to keep going off, so I'm going to keep putting my passcode in every 2 seconds. So that's what kind of what we do. So we're a science centre. We've got a physical space. We go out and do outreach, and we do community work as well. Xplore's mission is to engage with anyone of any background in STEM. So for those of you who don't know the acronym, it's science, technology, engineering, art, and maths, because we shoehorn art in there as well for STEAM. And we do that by making it relevant to them. When Elaine and I met, it was in COVID. I don't want to mention the word too much, just in case it comes back. And we were asked to provide some activities for the resources that were going out to your families in your local area. I went and met the lovely Chris Lawton that was working in the church, and he was like, oh, after COVID is gone, come and do some things with the kids, like get the kids back into the church. And I was like, that's a fantastic idea. And then poor Chris moved on, and Elaine was lumped with me instead. And that led to our community work and us doing a project called Xplore Goes to Church, which I will let Elaine tell you about while I do a demo.
Okay, yeah, so as Claire says, first met her, I work on a voluntary basis in a church called St. Mark's, which is in an area of high deprivation in Wrexham. And as we were coming out of COVID, that's when I first met Claire, and Xplore were able to provide us with some resources for some activity packs we were taking to children around the estate that were linked with the church, a lot of which who weren't able to access the internet or so forth. So it gave them something to do, and it maintained that link. And then as we started to come back into church again, we had Xplore up to do a science session with the children and families in the church. And then actually another person connected with our congregation said, I've got a great idea. You could use some of these science activities to actually help the children and the families understand the Christian faith. And from that basis, we actually developed a series of sessions, for example, on things like building bridges and keystones, and thinking about Jesus the keystone and how that helps us to get to God. Slime and water. Claire will explain a little bit more about that. How did Jesus walk on water when he couldn't? What are the properties of water and how you can turn water into slime and all sorts of things. We did all sorts of different things. Light, Jesus the light of the world and properties of light. Whole range of different sessions. And then with support from A-Class and a grant, we then took those sessions out to churches across North Wales. Subsequently, did a project with resource boxes where we put some of the activities into a box with a little manual so that church children, families, leaders could do those activities for themselves with their churches in the way that they wanted to. And our most recent project has been called Community Events in Church, which has been really more about putting on fun events in church using Xplore activities and inviting families to come, perhaps families that don't come to church, to come along, come into the church, get to know the church and just have some fun. So we've been able to do a whole range of things and built up a great relationship. So I'll pass over to Claire.
One of the such things that we did in Elaine's church was I was a total novice, didn't know anything about some of the Bible stories. So we used to meet in a cafe called Heaven, which I thought was hilarious at the time. I was like, do you want to go to Heaven? She's like, yeah, sure, we'll go and get a crepe. So one of the things I say to her is like, tell me something that's hard to explain to kids. What don't they understand about a Bible teaching? One of them was the Trinity, as you may all be aware of it, nodding heads. And when Elaine explained the Trinity to me, I went, oh, as best as she could. I was like, oh, that's just the fire triangle, just explained in a different way. And she was like, oh, I don't really see that. I was like, yeah, oxygen, heat, fuel, those things together make fire, but fire is not oxygen or heat or fuel, and heat is not fuel, and fuel is not oxygen, yada, 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 the same as it does with the Trinity. So we did fire extinguishers with the kids, which I will show you in a little minute if I've got time to. But one aspect of the Trinity which really confused me was the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit you cannot see, you cannot touch it, you cannot engage with it, but you can see its effect through people. The same as electricity. So I've got a human circuit. So when you touch both ends, the light and a really annoying beeping noise will start to work. So that would be to the kids like the Holy Spirit is working through me, like, look, it's working. But it also works if me and Elaine hold hands and then she holds the other end. It will also work then as well. We're going to get Steph to do it as well. There we go. There we go. If we get Steph down there. And then the Holy Spirit's going through all three of us. It will work with up to 20 children. I have tested it. So it was just a really simple concept of, I'll turn it off because it's so annoying. It's a simple concept of showing that you can't see the effect of the Holy Spirit. You can't see the effect of electricity. Basically the same thing in a kid's eye. But if we all hold hands and we can make switches and we can turn it off and I can touch your nose, your nose, and touch your forehead, it will still work. And it was a way for them to play with the Holy Spirit in a way that they hadn't done before, if that kind of makes sense. You can nod or you can awesome, okay.
So I think just to say we've been really flexible in obviously we've been working with a range of different churches, different approaches. So we're not saying this is the way you've got to do it. We're just saying these are activities Xplore can provide, and then it's to you as a church as to how you want to share that, how you want to use it to explain things to children, how you want, and maybe how children can learn about science and about their Christian faith as well.
I'll let that burn for a second.
Yeah.
So after all those funded sessions that we did with the community groups, we had a conversation in work. There are many Christians that work in our science centre, and I didn't realise this at the time of starting the very, very first project. It meant that it sparked quite a lot of conversations, and it's meant that as a workforce, we understand each other a lot better. And one of my colleagues turned around and said, why aren't we doing this in schools? And I was like, well, I don't actually know, because I'm the community person. Maybe that's why. So we had a conversation, and Elaine again had let me know about a different fund that we applied to, which was the Wrexham Procure Fund. And we got funded to create 4 RVE, which is religion, values and ethics sessions on 4 different topics. So the next pictures are just basically us doing those things with children in schools. This is of our training day for our latest one, which is All One Body. So it's all about the body systems, how those systems work together in our bodies and how we can relate that back to communities and church and people. And we link it back to without saying it, Corinthians, and about how not all of us can all be the eye, because then we'd just be a massive eyeball bouncing down the street, and that would be no good for anyone. We'd never be able to smell mum making the cookies. We've also done, that one looks like In Search of Light. So In Search of Light was all about Jesus being the light of the world, a concept I struggled with and still struggle with, how a person can be made of light unless they're like the flame person from Fantastic Four or something. But we related it back to how if you're in Jesus' light, then, you know, you're, I think, is it free of sin, or you're loved by him, or something along the lines. We do it better in the sessions. We talk about good and bad times, highs and lows, the properties of light, sources and reflectors. So how a person can be a source of light, not just the sun, and how you can have the other people who are reflectors, like the moon, who reflects somebody else's light back onto other people. So we try and relate it in that kind of spiritual way. And we also look about individual viewpoints. So the colourful mat, the children are wearing different coloured lensed glasses. So they're all seeing something differently. And in that particular one, they had a pyjama date, and they're arguing over where the blue should go. It was hilarious to watch. But at the end, when they take the glasses off, they kind of go, oh, sorry about that. I didn't realise that we were looking at something differently. Some of the other ones that we've got is building wisdom. So building wisdom is based on the parable of the builders. So, and we look at assumed knowledge. So we get them to build some wonderful structures, and then we go, shake the table. And they're like, what? Shake the table. Well, then it's going to fall over. How do you know? Shake the table. They shake the table, their thing falls over. And then we get them to do the same thing on sand, so building out something different. And we go through all of that with them to then basically explain why you need stable foundations. We look at the places of worship, so buildings that have stood the test of time, who've got like buttresses and different, like larger foundations to have the big towers. And then we talk about modern engineering feats, like the great big massive gold ball they've got in the, is it Taipei 101 over somewhere in Asia? It's amazing. I'll try and find a link and hopefully we can send it through, because it is really funny, because it wobbles around and stops the building from falling over. And then we've got another one which is called Three, a Magic Number, which is based on the Trinity. And I can see I've got 13 seconds left, which is enough time to do a candle demonstration. So when we do the Trinity one, the Three, a Magic Number, we're talking about triangles and the fire triangle. But that's hard to understand even when we're just talking about it. But one way we can do it is with a lit candle and some vinegar and some bicarbonate of soda. We can make a gas which can suffocate a flame. Can you all see my candle down there? So in here is a white powder. It's bicarbonate of soda. If I put a little bit of vinegar in, it will start to fizz and hopefully not make a massive mess. I think I did it. And if I trap the gas inside, I'm going to pour the gas, just the gas, which you cannot see, over the flame, and then the flame will hopefully go out without me making an absolute mess of it. Ta-da! And we do tend to play a game with the kids and to say, how many times can you extinguish a candle out of like one thing? I think the maximum was about 14, so I was really impressed. And yeah, that is me. That is us. I think I've gone over slightly. There's my email address. You'll feel free to give me a ring and I will rabbit on to you more about all the other wonderful stuff that we do. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think we might have time for one question. I'm going to squeeze one in. I'm going to be cheeky. If anyone has a question. Yeah.
Where can I buy one of your Magic Holy Spirit tubes?
Oh, these ones. These ones. We get these from a company called CiS, which is an educational provider. They are called human circuits. So kids, I think I was playing with this with Helen that's left now yesterday. And she's like, oh, I can feel the electricity going through me. I was like, you can't. It's just 2 AA batteries. Like, it's not going to hurt you at all. But yeah, so TTS, educational supplies, and they're not the only ones that do it. I think Hope Education sell them too. They're really inexpensive. You can get some other ones from a company called Keycraft, which are called sensory tubes, but they make a horrifying noise that goes ee, and this one's a bit nicer because it just bleeps. But then you can also get exhibit builders to make you a circuit with an actual light bulb as well.
Cool, thank you. I ought to add to that, I've just bought one for my godson. He's 4 and he absolutely loves it. And his parents hate me for it because it's one of the noisy ones. So, yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Can we give them another round of applause?